Hello everyone, this is Ben and Gab from the New Earth channel where we talk about the mind, body, soul. Today we are going to talk about the healing the feminine energy. So Gab, what are the benefits of improving the feminine energy?
So the divine feminine really represents our personal power. She is the driving force of creativity and receptiveness to love and compassion and intuition as well. So when you are working with healing and activating that divine feminine, you're going to find so much information is going to be coming through spiritually. You're going to be a lot more advanced spiritually.
You know, open, being receptive to the divine, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which, you know, obviously opens you up to your intuition.
So the very emotional essence of us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we work and when we say divine masculine and divine feminine, remember we are talking about an essence within all of us,
yes.
Regardless of what your gender is. We all possess the divine feminine.
Yeah, so, you know, we've spoken about this in previous videos, but, you know, women are generally 80% in their, you know, divine feminine energy. Yeah, but it can be the other way around, but yeah. Normally 80% women are in their feminine. So some other signs of a healthy divine feminine are, you know, being able to set boundaries for yourself, you know, flowing through life easily, you know, being strong and secure within yourself, not being, you know, being able to express yourself emotionally as well, I think is another big one.
Being really authentic with who you are, really speaking your truth.
It's your really, you know, your authentic self, your true self, you know.
Exactly right.
Stripping back all the, you know, ego, it's, Now, it's all about, I think when you've got a healthy divine feminine too, it's about thinking with your heart and not your head so much. And like you said, trusting.
And intuition.
Yeah.
So
all
important.
About intuition, all about that flow. It's also, you know, being compassionate towards others, coming from a place of love more so with everything as well.
Yeah, and a higher perspective. You know, we talk a lot about intuition and working on that spiritual growth and coming from a higher consciousness, a higher perspective. So this is going to really help with that sense of trusting yourself, compassion, and receiving a lot of spiritual information.
Being comfortable with your body, you know, and really listening to your body, I think. Really important when it comes to the divine feminine is having that strong communication with yourself, in that alignment of physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, particularly with your body. It's so important. Yes. You know, it is also about expressing yourself freely and doing so and not feeling like shameful about it, you know.
Well, shame is such a low frequency in itself.
Oh, absolutely. That's, you know, low vibrational, of course. So, you know, it's about being supportive, magnetic, compassionate towards others. Empathetic, really about coming from a place of love, like with everything. And expressive, even creatively, you know. Your sacral chakra is a feminine chakra. It is about, you know, when that's open, you're able to express yourself in many different ways, and some of those could be, you know, art, dance, you know, music, painting, writing, drawing.
So ways to heal the divine feminine. Now, when it comes to healing the divine feminine, this is a lot about going within.
Absolutely, it's all about doing your inner work, taking that inward journey. If you think of, you know, a dark night of the soul or, you know, shadow periods, it's all about healing that divine feminine energy within yourself.
A lot of shadow work, a lot of ego deaths come from divine feminine healing. Because if you think, you know, if you're going through a lot of emotions, if you're going through a lot of internal issues, you got to sit down, you got to do the work within.
It's extremely hard, but it is, you know,
so worth it.
It's so worth it. And, you know, people look at your shadows as being a negative thing. They're not. They're meant to be there for a reason, because that's how you move forward. You know, it's about the integration of, you know, bringing them together.
Everything happens for your highest of good. And a lot of people think, oh, whenever we experience darkness or ego or low self-esteem or shadow parts of ourselves, they're the things that we need to avoid and shut out and just resonate with the light. That's really good and all, but you can't grow through that, right? You have to be able to allow the things that are preventing your growth in life to come to the surface So you can work on it.
And I think too, with inner work, I mean, if there's something blatantly obvious, I'll give you an example, like abandonment.
Yeah.
All right. If you choose to ignore it and you know it's there, you're just going to repeat history over and over again with your relationships, friendships, things like that. You'll the universe will keep playing that same story over and over again. So it's really about acknowledging those things that are coming up for you in a shadow period, and that's when you're doing your inner work, because they will represent themselves in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
When you put the work in, the universe will show you what you need to heal.
And this is where we really need to care for our inner child and address these things in our past. Otherwise, what we tend to happen, which is usually when people will come and see people like Benj and I, energetic wounds, cords, inner child healing.
So the next thing is really nurturing yourself in every way possible, all right? And it's about creating that inner unity within yourself, that balance, that healthy balance. And, if we talk about what a healthy balance is, I think 50-50 is pretty unachievable with a masculine and feminine energy. But it's, if you're in your feminine energy, it'd be more like, 60% feminine, 40% masculine, and vice versa for, a masculine core person. But I mean, it's also physical things like your diet. You're sleeping enough, you're exercising enough. It's looking at all aspects of things and bringing those into balance. So another beautiful way to heal your divine feminine is to be creative and expressive. Yeah, there's so many ways, my goodness.
Because if you think the divine feminine is really all about your heart space and above, so being creative and expressing yourself with complete authenticity.
Yeah, and there's so many ways. We went to the beach yesterday and played the drums, and I'd never done that before, but it was beautiful, and it was just, you just tune in and just let nature take its course. Yeah, I mean, you could sing, you could paint, you could draw.
When was the last time that, if you are interested in painting, for example, when was the last time that you just painted with no intention of creating anything specific, but just allowed yourself to intuitively create something? Or same with dancing. When was the last time you just danced and didn't care what you looked like and just allowed yourself to flow to the music? When did you sing so freaking loud that you didn't care who heard you,
Yeah. It's about just letting that energy out and expressing it however your body.
Through creativity.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned before, the divine feminine is a lot to do with intuition. So this is where it's really important to develop that and develop a strong sense of spirituality within yourself. The divine feminine, she speaks a different language. So we really have to be able to be in tune and communicate with her on that level.
Yeah, and look, we all have a pineal gland in our brain. We all have a psychic center, pituitary. We all have the ability to tune in to our intuition, Exactly. Some people are obviously born with it switched on, but some people can work on it. It's just like a muscle. So
exactly right.
It's just about developing that, and you can do courses to develop that and, work out what part you're strong at, because there's obviously different ways to pick up information psychically. So
I really believe that every single person on the planet has spiritual gifts.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We can all do it. It's not just those who are specially gifted.
Meditation certainly helps, because you're turning, you're switching the monkey mind off.
Yes.
And it allows things to come through. But yeah, there's courses that you can do. I've always been empathic. I've always felt very deeply about things, and as a child, you don't really talk about it because I guess you think it's normal. I've always been clairsentient as well, but I surprise myself even, depending on what I'm doing, what I'm focusing on. But I do really find that meditation's the key, and because that really gets you in tune. And other things start to come through as well. Start to develop other areas of your psychic awareness as well. Yeah.
Exactly right. If you develop a strong intuition, you're really advancing yourself spiritually, where you can learn the language of the divine feminine.
Yeah, and that's when it really comes about. You start following that more so than this. It's that trusting your heart, trusting your intuition,
as opposed to
the ego.
The ego.
Okay, an important way to heal the divine feminine energy is to really focus on your self-worth, your self-love, your self-care.
Yes, so important.
Very important. Yeah.
They all coincide together. Self-love is really that inner work and working on those emotional wounds and getting yourself in that spiritual and energetic alignment.
It's got nothing to do with vanity when you get up and go, oh, you look really good this morning.
No.
It's got nothing to do with ego.
comes from unconditional love, and it's so that in itself is really coming from a place of I love myself regardless of the shadows, and I'm allowing myself to be open to working through that. Self-care is the nurture side.
Yes.
That's the beach walks, that's the meditations, the yoga.
It's looking after yourself physically as well, making sure that you exercise, doing things like yoga, putting the right foods into us, drinking water, sleep, not drinking or taking drugs or, not excessively drinking anyway. Looking at everything, you just got to ask yourself, is this good for me? Is this healthy for me?
Nurturing yourself on every level like we talked about before. And then of course self-worth is projecting that out with confidence.
And also setting, I think, boundaries for yourself too.
Yes. It's about creating that standard for yourself. But I think when you work through the self-love and you break away from anything that's toxic for you, and you're in a little bit more of a higher vibration of saying, yes, I love myself unconditionally, I'm feeling a lot more healed from these aspects of my life, and then you're nurturing yourself and you're giving yourself a lot of love and care, and then you feel that sense of confidence and personal power, projecting that outwardly to saying, this is my truth, this is my authentic self. So when we're working with all of those things with self-love and self-care, we feel that more. We feel so much more valued in ourselves that we set that standard with other people. We teach people how to treat us based on how we treat ourselves. So if you are valuing yourself, you are teaching people how to value you.
Another important one that I see all the time is not going with the crowd, all right, and finding that beauty from within yourself, all right. So I think today's standard society paints this picture that we have to look a certain way, particularly things on, TV, social media, and I see this a lot in young women, and it's feeling like that they have to look a certain way to be beautiful,
or that men have to act a certain way to feel respected, and
it doesn't come across very authentic. And that's the point, It's like a lot of people need to go within and find that beauty within themselves, and stop trying to look a certain way,
or act a certain way.
Or act a certain way, because sometimes it's not the right way, and you end up looking worse,
Yeah, exactly.
Or not like yourself.
Yeah, and people, whether they're aware of it or not, will pick up on that energy, because when you're not being your true, authentic self, whatever that may be, you are putting up a little bit of a wall because there's something to hide. And people will pick up on that, and it will prevent you from having great experiences because you are kind of protecting your wounds a little bit.
Yeah, I think people as well, they, I see a lot of wounded feminines, especially with memes online, and, they're looking for validation. We all do a selfie here and there, but some people love to do them a little bit too much. People love to air their dirty laundry on social media, and you might have 10 people that feel sorry for you, but then you'll have 200 people that'll think, they'll think not good things about it.
Which usually, when it comes to being wounded, it's a lot of the time it's hard to sit with yourself and say, I'm not okay, I am wounded, I am coming from a place of ego, I have my insecurities.
It's really about getting out of that victim and way of thinking mentality.
Or that self-pity mentality. And
because it'll just keep happening over and over again.
Sometimes you do have to ask for help to really get what you want, or perhaps acknowledging that you are wounded, which is okay because everyone's wounded. It's not something that people should be ashamed of.
The other thing is, you're looking from the beauty within. I think we, especially young girls now, look from the outside rather than in. They use different products, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good, but there is a line, I think, where it goes into more of being an ego thing, where it's it's based superficially. It's all about ego and vanity even.
I can speak on experience with this, ladies. Okay, I ain't no saint. I used to post, I remember when I started getting into the gym and I was feeling really good in my body, and I would post photos, booty photos, I would post photos, not because...
We've all set photos that
Yeah. And I got plenty of photos I used to post on Instagram that were not for good intention. And that really was showing me that I did have to do some work, and to work on my ego, and to work on some inner child issues around self-worth. So it's okay if you like. It's okay.
It's really
learn from me.
It's really the leadership, really, and what's on TV. That's the sad part, you know.
Yeah.
That's the
exactly
influence,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
It's about breaking away from all that though, and accepting really who you are and loving that person. You know, everyone's beautiful in their own way.
In their own way, exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't have to feel like you have to force your appearance or force your character or your personality onto someone else to feel appreciated. You know, find that within yourself, so that way you don't have to rely on other people to make you feel good. That's one thing that I learned.
There's nothing wrong with being a bit original.
There's nothing, you know, like, I think that the world would be so much more colourful if everyone reflected their true selves. I think that sometimes the whole idea of when women or men get things done or enhancements done, whether it's false eyelashes, hair extensions, whether they get Botox and things like that, that stigma that they're not being true to themselves and that they're, you know, shallow people. And I would really just like to encourage anyone out there that it can still like reflect self-love, and it still has really nothing to do with being shallow, in my opinion. I think that sometimes it's more about asking yourself, what's the intention I'm getting this done for? And would I still love myself unconditionally and still have confidence if I didn't have it?
Yeah, I see that situation a lot where, you know, younger people especially, you know, have these type of procedures done, and, you know, look, each to their own if it makes you feel good. But there is a line, I think, that you got to be careful not to cross over, because it does come down to ego, you know, no self-care perhaps,
you could be like,
or self-worth.
This is what's going to give me confidence. And it's like, no, you already have confidence. I've got my eyebrows microbladed, I wear makeup. Like,
you also worked in the beauty industry, and I guess when you work in the beauty industry, or, you know, those type of industries, there's a bit of a pressure to look good as well.
Yeah, there is, in creating that standard. And I think that when you find your niche and you find something that you resonate with, I think it's beautiful. And I think that too is when you have, this is just my personal belief, is that you see this all over social media, you see this all over the world, people being their authentic selves. They're wearing whatever they want, they're being as colourful as possible, whether they're dyeing their hair 1,000 colours, whether they're getting different piercings and tattoos. You know, these are really, you can get a lot of different ways to reflect your authentic self. You know, I remember one of my friends, she has a lot of tattoos, and like heavily tattooed. And she always used to tell me, this is just my art, this is just, my body's my canvas, and I love reflecting my creativity through my art on my body. Even though that some people might look at that and be like, oh, like, that's a bit too much. That's how she chooses to reflect herself. I think it really does just come down to, what's the intention behind it? Is this reflecting your creativity and your self-expression, how you choose to express yourself? Or is this coming from a deeper wound?
Being vulnerable, you know, and expressing yourself, but not feeling ashamed, you know. And it's not about just expressing yourself with, like, your loved ones, your partner, you know, your family members or whatever. It's about expressing yourself in any way that you want to.
Because being vulnerable is hard. It is hard.
Scary. And then once you are vulnerable though, and it gives you a bit of a confidence boost, and then you become more comfortable with yourself. Another great way to heal your feminine or divine feminine energy is meditation. You know, there's many different meditations that you can do. I did one today, and it was channeling Isis with Alana Fairchild. Beautiful meditation. You can find many guided meditations on YouTube. You can tune in by using your tools as well, so things like oracle cards, tarot cards, you know, if you like wearing crystals and things like that.
Essential oils. And also music, like singing bowls,
drums. So there's also some ways to awaken our divine feminine energy. Examine your wounds and where they come from. So it could be a relationship with like a feminine person in your life, especially from, you know, past relationships, you know, childhood. but it's also examining what femininity actually means to you as well.
Writing a letter to your inner child and to your inner mother is really powerful.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's really just acknowledging the pain itself, or just being a voice for them, being a voice for your wounds and allowing them to feel heard.
Yeah.
So writing a letter to your inner child or to your wounded self or your inner mother is really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think another thing too with the feminine people in your life, it's about forgiving those people in your life too. Especially,
forgiveness, big one.
You know, especially if things have happened, it's about forgiving those people, because they're our mothers, they give birth to us, they make mistakes. So some other ways to awaken your divine feminine are obviously tuning into your emotions, expressing those emotions. And I know some healing work that I've done this week, I've certainly been expressing those emotions in different ways.
Yes.
They've been coming out of me.
Yeah.
But I think it's been a common thing this week too for a lot of people.
Yes. Honouring your emotions is just so important. When was the last, if I had to ask you, when was the last time that you cried?
Yeah.
You know, like just allowing yourself to feel.
It's not even just crying. You can express your emotions in other ways through music, you know.
So through sexual release.
Yeah, some other ways to awaken your divine feminine are to be present and slow down, you know. And sometimes things happen in your life, and it's good just to go through not knowing what's going to happen ahead, you know. Going in blindfolded is not such a bad thing. You know, there's no expectation, and just trusting in it where you need to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being present and being connected, particularly connected to Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, is really, really important.
So letting go of those outcomes on things, and just having, you know, perfect faith and trust that you're heading in the right direction.
Leading on from that, it's incredibly important to connect with your body.
So it's really about listening to your body, I think, because your body will tell you if there's something wrong. You know, if there's pain, then don't push, you know. Also, you know, I'll give you an example of your body will tell you. I remember it was a couple of months ago, and it's happened to me a couple of times. I wasn't seeing something clearly, I was ignoring it, resisting it, you know, and it was coming through in a few ways. I got an eye infection, and that eye infection lasted for 8 weeks. So that's, you know, that's really got to listen to your body and what it's trying to tell you. A great thing that you can do is actually keep a food diary, all right? And you write down what you eat. I mean, you don't have to count the calories as such, but you write down how you actually feel afterwards, you know, on each day. And you kind of work out what is really good for you and what's not, you know, what makes you feel really, really good, sluggish, you know, things like that. It's actually really interesting when you break it down like that. Yeah. And then you kind of see as well that the vibration in food, you know, what's high vibration, what's low vibration. So another way of awakening the divine feminine is actually honouring Gaia and protecting her as well. We went to the beach yesterday and we did a bit of meditation in the water, and what came out was quite interesting. I mean, not surprising, but she's very sick, all right? If you think about what we put in our drains or down our drains, it all ends up back in the ocean, all right? And I think we're the only species on the planet that destroys everything in its path to make way for itself. So there's, you know, it's so unbalanced. Everything's unbalanced in the environment, you know, and we need to change it. And, you know, we really need to be mindful on the impact that we actually have and what we're actually doing. And you don't have to make huge changes, but it's just looking at things like, you know, the chemicals that you're using, and they could be in the garden, they could be, you know, your washing liquid, they could be your detergents, like shampoos, all those sort of things. Plastics. Yeah.
So it's really just what we talked about before, about really connecting with Mother Gaia, because the divine feminine and Mother Nature go hand in hand. So it's really about being aware of your input to the planet and creating that balance, because when you are healing the planet, you are collectively healing the feminine consciousness of the entire world. So
it's very powerful.
Yeah, very, very powerful.
So that leads us into our next video, which we're going to talk about self-worth, self-love, self-care. So if you find value in our videos, please like, subscribe and comment below, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you. Namaste.